What's happening, guys? This is Rolling Barrel again with a new tutorial. In this tutorial we will be looking at NPCs or monsters and seeing how we can change their movements, make them walk around, and basically do some interesting stuff like pushing buttons, opening doors and all that jazz. So I'll start by showing you a little map that I made. Here we go. So you go in here, there's Barney there and there's a button. So what happens is, I walk into a funk trigger, and Barney walks over, pushes the button and the door opens. It's great. So in a minute, I'll just show you how to do all this and more on Hammer. See you in a sec. So we'll be making Scientist run from over here up to here to face the player as soon as the player walks slightly forward for a trigger entity. So we'll start off by obviously getting an info player start entity, putting him in the map, and of course you can change your read size with the bucket keys. We'll have the actual monster entity. Now this, we're going to use the Scientist. You can use basically any monster whatsoever. The only differences we really have is the animations which are used when they move. So obviously I'm going to do a Scientist. You could use an Osprey, or presumably you could even use a mini turret, although I don't think that has any animation. I'm not sure how well that would work. But might be possible, you never know. So here we go, Scientist. What's the Scientist? Yep. So we're just gonna move him around a bit with like the player. Right click properties, make sure he's facing basic. That's all you really need to do for now. Except for all we need to do now is just to put on a ceiling, obviously, because I've left it open so I can show you more easily how to do this in the tutorial. So, let's see. If I get a decent texture, so seal, ceiling, something like that, concrete ceiling, we'll do. Pop it over the top. Doesn't matter how thick it is for this demonstration. Anyway, right. Okay, so that's good to go now. If you were to compile it, then you would be able to walk into this trigger once entity from there, and then your scientist would run all the way, or your monster would run all the way up to this scripted sequence just here. And at the moment he won't do anything, I'll just move there, but I'll get on to other things shortly. So to compile this, you'll want to click on the compile button up here, and for run map you'll want to change run rad to no, because otherwise it will run them in lighting, like without, obviously because you didn't put any light entities in, then you won't be able to see anything, whereas if you take off run rad, then it will mean that it will be full bright mode, which basically means everything's lit up as you need it to. So I'm just going to press OK, and I'll see you ahead in game. Okay, so here we are in game. As you can see, there's my scientist over there. I'm standing down at this end of the corridor, and if we walk forward, the scientist runs towards the spot where he put the scripted sequence. It's very, very, very basic starting things. Well, apparently I can still make him move. Because I am. Anyway, yeah. So it's quite basic. Obviously you can make them turn in different directions and things like that as well, though, which is good. So that's what I'll be doing in the next part of this tutorial, and I'll just get back to Hammer and I'll show you. I'll also be adding in animations, so watch out. Okay, so here we are back in Hammer, and now I'm going to show you how to make a simple animation. So first of all, we're going to have to find out what animation we want to use, and there's only one real way we can find out what animation a certain model might have, such as the scientist, and that is using a model viewer, or in my case, Jed's model viewer for Half-Life. So basically this is just a viewer for viewing models and their specific animations and sequences which they can do. I'll include a link in the description for you to use. So if I scroll down and find it, Jed's model viewer 1.36, there we go. I'll just launch this. Now what you do is you click on the file, load model, and you find the model that you want. In this case, of course, I'm using a scientist, so I would find the scientist model. Yep, so there it goes, it's in a simple walking animation there. And you can click on the animation sequences and the animation sequence tabs to select an animation and to look at what they're called. So this is particularly useful because you can see what their names are and you can see what they actually do. So you can try, so here we have wave. I'm going to use wave for my animation, so that you know that's now the name of the actual animation itself. So what we do is we're going to stop this. I'm just going to close Jed's model viewer, and if we go back onto Hammer and go on our scripted sequence, right click on properties, then we can add an action animation, which will be what happens when the scientist runs over here. So that's going to be wave. Okay, and that's about it. Of course, you can have any animation really, so you can have push button or whatever, but I'm just going to use wave for now to demonstrate. So again, I'll see you in game. Okay, so here we are in game again. I'm just going to walk forward like last time, but this time, hopefully our scientist is going to wave at us. So if I walk forward, there we go, he runs along, and he waves! these are simply, if you right click and go on properties, I'll show you. They're just monster human grunts. They could be pretty much any monster you wanted, of reasonable size obviously, to fit through the path which we're going to use. So if you haven't already guessed, what we're going to do now is set these soldiers to be able to pathfind their way to me, the player, here. So what you can do is you could run out here, you'd pick up your weapon, they'd see you, so that of course they'd start shooting you, and you would run back here. But currently, if you did that, naturally what would happen is they wouldn't be able to follow you as long as we didn't see you there or anything. If you came all the way back to here, they wouldn't be able to follow you because they wouldn't know where you went and how to get to where you are. So what we're going to do is we're going to change that and make it hard for the player so they can actually come down and hunt you down, so to speak. So what we're going to do is, this is just a weapon. I just got a 9mm AR submachine gun, just so you can defend yourself a bit in case they do come through. What we're going to do is I'm going to show you this first hand now of what happens without nodes, which will be our pathfinding thing for our monsters, and then after that we'll add in the nodes, and then I shall demonstrate to you what happens when you run back here and you have nodes. So let's get started. Okay, so here I am in game. As you can see, there's all my walls and things. If I run through here, you can hear the grunts. If I really quickly get the gun, then run back, they won't actually come and get me. They'll just stand there saying go. They'll say go lots. That's basically what happens in Half-Life when we're trying to find the player, but we can't. Unless I went over here. And then hello. So if I run back over here, yeah, so obviously they can't find me. I'm just going to kill them all. Yep. Yeah, so basically, if I came over here, grabbed a gun and ran back, then they wouldn't be able to get to me. Quite simply, just with this really silly thing. You can like walk straight through here. It's just their AI don't know how to get through that to find you. They don't know how to get to you. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in nodes which will form a little path and act as a kind of map for monsters, and they can figure out how to get to the player or get to some other place depending on what you want them to do at certain times. So if I just pause the game here and we'll go back in time and we'll add in the nodes, and then we'll see what happens after we've added in the nodes. Okay, so here we are back in Hammer, and now firstly we're going to add in the path for the monsters, or their AI at any rate, to find their way through this complex, law-breaking, physics-defying construction of walls, which simply form a little path which we can't get to, unless of course we have nodes, which is what we're going to do. So basically it's just a way for them to hunt down a player. We don't just have to be directed at the player, but generally that's what they're used for. So if the player runs back, then they won't be safe. They'll come and hunt them down until we either kill him or the player kills them. Usually the player kills him, but nearly find me. Yep. Whoops. And I'm dead. So as you can see, we're very